Okay. Well, this is No Doctor, Just Healthy, and really shaky today. I and the trouble is I I don't feel bad too much, but I'm pretty shaky. I think it's because I'm nervous. You know what? I'm trying to do something different on the channel than I normally try to do, and that's raise my um, visitors. I don't do this for money at all, and I don't plan on selling nothing. I'm not going to say no, never, but I don't plan on it. But I am a little bit disappointed that I haven't acquired more interest. Now I know I'm not good at it, but I'm not here for entertainment, and I'm not here because I have necessarily a great way of putting sentences together or something. It's not that. It's not because I could go along and uh, talk about this stuff, but I just started to write it right on the bulletin board here, and I just thought I had to say something. But I'm not going to quit for at least for a long time. But I it's just not something that I used to do, and I say that, and at the same time I'm thinking, gosh, my job. I was at Chrysler Engineering back a ways, back like 1969. I worked on the performance cars and stuff, and I trans and I accelerated through all that, and I turned into the best dynamometer operator. And I say the best because I proved it. I Before Chrysler collapsed, I had built 10 dynamometers in the same building that looked all identical, but they performed within a half a horsepower of each other. And if you're in the dynamometer business, you got to go, hey, that's pretty good, within a half a horsepower. You see these dynamometers on the internet and all that stuff that are, in garages and stuff. They're a whole lot better than seeing what your car feels like. Those are numbers you can work with, but they're accurate within 20 horsepower. Today, maybe tomorrow they'll be 2 horsepower. But the day after that, it's 8 horsepower. But you don't know, so it makes it really hard to do development work, and that's what we were doing. We were doing development work. Like I used to dyno those turbine cars, one engine, and I built myself the only one that existed that had a variable pitch power turbine in it. And if people remember those cars, they didn't accelerate very good. They accelerated all day though. I mean, pick up miles, mile, faster, faster, faster. There's even a movie out where they have a turbine car in it. They disguised it a little bit, but it was that way. It would go across the desert at 150 miles an hour, but they didn't show it taking off because they were very slow. Picking up speed. But I built a power turbine for it, which a variable pitch power turbine that would make it spin the tires. It, we outran a Roadrunner with it on Chrysler Drive, right in front of the engineering building, and it's all residential on the other side. Drag raced right down there. But anyways, that was kind of fun. Well, there's different doctors that I watch on YouTube, and I tell you, I watch a lot of them because my health is so much better today than it was 10 years ago. And this is the thing. I got so tired of hearing doctors tell me, "Well, your memory's bad because you're getting older, Don. Um, you're you're breathing hard trying to walk up the steps because you're getting older, Don. Um, of course, your knees hurt. You're getting older, Don. Guess what? I've pretty much cured, and I don't want to say that. I didn't cure it. I treated all those things that were said that it was bad because I was getting older, including those things they wouldn't see in the dark. They do now. How did that happen? I'm 10 years older. Are you starting to get the drift of that? Um, my I went to the hospital a couple weeks ago because, uh, or I guess it's been months. I do have a little trouble keeping track of schedules and stuff, but I went a couple months ago, and they got right on it, and they tested me out every which way they could because I said my heart's going haywire, and I think it was pitter pattering, pretty fast, and they did things like the nurse, right away they do an EEG. She says, "This is perfect." She says, "I don't even have to show it to the doctor." She says, "I will, but there is zero on here that is of any interest. Your heart is beating just perfect." Okay, and then before too long, a lab coat guy come over, and he says, your heart chemicals, or I forget how he said it exactly, but that's why they took the blood test, was to do the stuff that refers to heart. And he says, your heart chemicals are right on the money. There's nothing that needs to be different. And then the doctor come by and he looked at me and he taking a pulse and he says, "You feel okay?" I says, "Yeah, I'm just a little nervous of being here." He says, "Yeah." He says, "That makes sense. But are you dizzy?" I said, "No." He says, "Because your blood pressure is just right." And it was the same as like probably what it was. I checked my own, too, at home. Yesterday I was 127 over 117, I think it was. Oh, now I forget the numbers. 127 over 73. I think that's what it was. Could have been 77, but 127 over 77. That's good. Especially, when you get older, your blood pressure goes up a little bit. I mean, that's natural. It's natural. It's not that it's a target. It's just that instead of being 120 over 80, which I used to think that was high because I was much lower than that, but it just naturally adds on a couple of numbers because of maybe because of your weight, your lack of muscles, your arteries are getting stiffer, your veins are getting stiffer, and it doesn't mean you're going, doesn't mean you're heading for the grave. It just means that's the way you age. But it doesn't mean that you have to be sick from it. But anyways, it turned out they had no idea why I was there, so they let me go. And so I went away, and I was thinking about it, and it turned out that I feel like I was overdosing, maybe on vitamin D3 or omega 3, omega 3, and but I take niacin, and I take a number of things, and I think I might have just overdosed. So that's something, it's true. I mean, this stuff doesn't generally cause you any real grief. It just makes me alarmed because I expect to be good. But anyways, most of the things that I had wrong with me 10 years ago, or 9 years ago probably, because I think I was 70 when I really crashed at the bottom. My blood sugar yesterday was only 95, I think. That's nice. 100 is like considered across the board normal good for everybody. But when mine was 95, and a couple of years before, back in the 10 years ago, I was a type 2 diabetic because I had been pre-diabetic for years, and blood pressure, my blood sugar would have never been 95. I could have probably fasted for 2 days and never hit 95. But it was 95. So that's nice to see. Okay, thanks. I might send this out as a short. I was just checking my mic, but maybe I'll just send it out. Well, it won't be a short, but